For the most part, it's just Kody and I and our kids.
Kody Brown didn't suddenly become a better father. He just found a better camera angle. There's a particular kind of irony that reality television occasionally captures so perfectly, it feels scripted.
We just killed that turkey right there.
In the latest season of Sister Wives, Kody Brown, longtime absentee father, now born-again, involved dad, is shown brushing his 13-year-old son Solomon's hair and packing up the younger kids for school. The scene is clearly meant to evoke warmth, redemption, and domestic tenderness. Instead, it lands somewhere between farce and tragedy. Let's pause on the obvious. A teenager having his hair brushed by his father is, at best, infantilizing. At worst, it's performative pandering to the camera. The juxtaposition with early seasons makes it all the more galling.
All right, come on, you gotta eat. You got eggs, burritos.
When the series began, Kody's eldest son, Logan, then barely 16, was waking up younger siblings, making breakfasts, and herding them out the door while Kody himself floated between wives like a man auditioning for sainthood through avoidance. Logan was a child raising children, not because he wanted to, but because his father couldn't be bothered. Now, years later, the same man who outsourced parenting to his teenage son has discovered the sacred art of brushing hair, just in time for the cameras. This newfound tenderness, conveniently directed only toward Robin's children, reeks of the classic second-chance dad complex. Men who neglect one brood, then decide to play doting patriarch when the lighting's better and the house quieter.
Because dad prefers them.
My kids and I have felt like we got voted off the Brown family island.
The older kids don't get closure. They get a front-row seat to their father's rebrand. Gwendolyn Brown has even spoken about the sting of watching these scenes. She expressed happiness that her younger siblings have a more present father, but grief knowing he never offered the same presence to her. That quiet ache of children watching a parent perform love they were denied is the most honest part of this entire saga. Of course, the performance doesn't end there. Between the school day montages, the staged family trips, and the ear-piercing ceremonies dressed up as spiritual milestones, Kody and Robin's household increasingly resembles a marketing campaign for godly parenting. Every gesture seems designed to signal stability and redemption. The effect, however, is less reformed father and more PR intern with a ring light.
We're going to take a look back to some of our family's most dramatic memories over the past 13 years.
Even TLC's editors seem to sense the absurdity. The decision to cut between Kody's late-life parenting epiphany and flashbacks of Logan's forced maturity was so brutally effective it bordered on editorial shade.
Usually during the holidays, we like to have the girls make us breakfast.
Beneath the glossy scenes lies a disturbing truth. Neither the over-parentification of the first set of children nor the over-coddling of the second is healthy. Kody's pendulum swing from neglect to smothering isn't growth, it's chaos. His older kids were pushed into adulthood before they were ready, and his younger ones are being kept in childhood long past the point of independence.
Today was the first day of school for the kids.
Hi, Ariella!
It's not just cringe television, it's psychological whiplash. Solomon, now a teenager, must navigate not only an overbearing father on national television, but also the likely ridicule of peers. One imagines the schoolyard sympathy isn't plentiful for a 13-year-old whose first day of school sign looks like a prop from a discount Pinterest tutorial.
Everything goes. Okay, Kody.
In the end, what we're witnessing isn't a redemption arc. It's a reenactment. Kody Brown has spent years mistaking visibility for virtue. Now, as ratings wane and public patience thins, he's reinvented himself as a caring patriarch because the cameras are still rolling. The tragedy is that for his children, those cameras don't stop when the scene ends. They just capture, in high definition, the hollowness of a man still trying to play dad like it's a role he might someday master. They called it polygamy. He called it a fan club. Here's the truth about Kody Brown's so-called marriages. There is one universal truth about Kody Brown.
I'm going to be the head of my household again.
The man requires attention the way most people require oxygen. His plural marriage wasn't about faith or family. It was about ensuring a permanent, captive audience of wives and children orbiting his ego. When each woman inevitably stopped worshiping at the altar of Kody, he took it as betrayal. Now, stripped of his household harem and dwindling public relevance, he's gone hunting for a new stage. The Special Forces show was less about spiritual growth and more about scratching the itch of a fading celebrity. It's the same impulse that will likely drive him to another reality show, Big Brother, perhaps, or any platform that lets him play the misunderstood patriarch while collecting applause. And when a woman, any woman, offers him the faintest hint of admiration, the so-called soulmate vows with Robin will disintegrate faster than his family unity did. Expect the inevitable transformation into the middle-aged cliché. The man whose wife doesn't have time for him anymore. Kody's not subtle about it either.
And basically I said, if you want to be in the family, then you have to understand, I need you to run your will to mine.
He practically uses sister wives as an infomercial for potential affair partners. Even Robin, once the apple of his ego's eye, can see it, and she's spiraling. The irony is delicious. She entered the family as the favored newcomer and now faces the same obsolescence he once imposed on the others. In the Brown household, poetic justice wears lip gloss and cries on camera. Of course, the field of potential partners isn't exactly promising. But then again, there's always a market for chaos. After all, women have been known to marry men who are literally in prison. Kody's just emotionally incarcerated. For some opportunistic admirer or gold digger, he might still look like a ticket to TLC airtime. The real tragedy is that there was never great love to begin with. His relationship with Robin was built on a shared sense of us versus them.
Like even last year, he's like, look, plural marriage is standing in the way of my personal progress. He said that to us one time.
A mutually convenient delusion that polygamy ended, but attention-seeking didn't. And as time passes, it's clear that even monogamy can't hold his focus. Not when there's another camera to find, another woman to charm, another storyline to invent.
His upbringing didn't help. In his world, women past a certain age are quietly put out to pasture, deemed spiritually and sexually redundant.
If this baby's anything like Solomon, I'm totally okay with it.
Robin, who once dangled the fantasy of another child to keep his interest alive, is now watching that same ageist script turn on her. For Kody, attraction is less about affection and more about validation. He wants to be seen with someone younger, someone hot, someone who confirms that the internet still notices him. And make no mistake,
I like marriage.
Continue.
Kody doesn't love Robin. He never truly loved any of them. He loves the idea of being loved, of being the gravitational center around which female devotion endlessly spins. When that orbit collapsed, so did his identity. Without chaos, competition, and the constant triangulation of wives vying for his attention, he's adrift.
So I'm meeting my best friend Nathan. I want to show him the one house that we want to build.
The show itself reflects this desperation. The land deals, the feigned reconciliations, the contrived therapy sessions, all transparent ploys to stretch a fading franchise. Expect vow renewals, a retreat for healing, maybe even a manufactured crisis to keep the cameras rolling. Kody can't do poverty, and reality TV has become his last revenue stream.
Venue. He picked the venue. It's perfect. It's beautiful.
He's not just losing wives, he's losing the narrative. The women who escaped, Christine, Janelle, even Mary, are finding peace, which makes them terrible television. And peace is the one storyline Kody Brown can't tolerate. So he'll invent conflict, seek attention, and maybe, inevitably, cheat. Because when a narcissist loses his crowd, he doesn't find redemption. He finds a new audience.
They called Aspen's heartfelt question a confrontation, and that's all you need to know about Robin Brown's version of reality. At this point, Aspen Brown stepping away from Sister Wives feels less like a mystery and more like an act of survival. The supposed family reality show long ago traded authenticity for spectacle.
Aspen and I had this long discussion. She said, Dad, why? What is wrong? What?
And few moments illustrate that betrayal better than Kody Brown turning what should have been a private reconciliation with his daughter into televised fodder. By all accounts, Aspen approached her father with vulnerability, asking the kind of question that takes both courage and emotional exhaustion. Why doesn't he seem to like her? Instead of meeting that with empathy, Kody and Robin converted the exchange into plot material.
I would say that's just kind of more of a confrontation.
Robin's on-camera rebranding of Aspen's question as a confrontation was particularly revealing. It wasn't just tone deaf. It was a window into her astonishing lack of self-awareness. The emotional honesty of a daughter seeking validation became, through Robin's lens, an act of rebellion. That pattern, weaponizing privacy while hiding behind one's own, has become their specialty.
Kody and I have been struggling for a while. We're not close. It was actually...
Kody routinely airs the intimate grievances of others while guarding his own secrets like state intelligence. Recall his refusal to discuss Mary's suggestion about their crumbling marriage on camera. Suddenly, privacy mattered. Yet the pain of his children? Fair game, provided it makes good television. Robin, ever the loyal producer's pet, encourages the exposure of everyone else's growth moments, but never her own. When the focus might shift to her shortcomings, the cameras miraculously stop rolling. It's no wonder most of the adult children want nothing to do with this circus.
Isabel's heartbroken.
They've seen how vulnerability is repackaged into humiliation. Isabel's heartbreak during her surgery storyline being another prime example. The show's premise once revolved around a sprawling, complex family. Now it's a hollow sequel starring a disengaged father, a checked-out wife, and the echo of what used to be a plural marriage.
Or we can still go to Aspen and Mitch's, whatever you want to do. And they'd want to go to Aspen and Mitch's.
Aspen, meanwhile, has built an actual life, complete with a marriage and now reportedly a baby. Choosing to keep that child off camera isn't prudish. It's protective. It's a declaration that her family will not be mined for content the way her parents' generation was. A rare display of sanity, especially when compared to others still volunteering their children for public consumption under the guise of sharing our journey.
Just Christine is gone, Mary has left, you're gone. Robin and Kody are now in this monogamous...
Without the original wives and their children, what remains of sister wives? A divorced man with a shopping enthusiast spouse and a dwindling sense of relevance. Kody's charisma, such as it ever was, depended entirely on the chaos surrounding him. Like tofu, it absorbed the flavor of whatever drama it sat in. Now stripped of that, he's just bland air with a camera crew. Aspen's silence is her final word, and it's louder than anything her father has said on camera in years. She's the only one who seems to understand that true healing doesn't need to be filmed. Kody Brown proves you don't need to hit your kids to hurt them. Just call their pain manipulation. In Christine Brown's book, she recounts a moment that encapsulates Kody Brown's brand of fatherhood.
Be good. I don't have the emotional maturity to do a face-to-face with her.
And she'd probably manipulate us or start crying.
When their daughter Gwen tearfully learned he wouldn't attend her engagement party, Kody dismissed her distress with, "Don't try to manipulate me with your tears." It was not a boundary. It was punishment. This remark was no isolated outburst. It was retaliation. Kody had been stewing since season 18, episode 9, when Gwen dared to suggest that Robin might manipulate us or start crying during a potential family meeting.
We just found out that Kody is coming.
Yeah, Robin and I are going over to Gwendolyn's bridal shower.
We found out that Christine was bringing her boyfriend.
For Kody, the statement was blasphemy against his most protected subject, Robin. So when Gwen, ironically and quite naturally, cried,
Kody seized the moment to weaponize her own words against her. In his world, emotions are weapons, but only when his children display them. Predictably, Kody still attended the engagement celebration, though not out of paternal devotion.
They're throwing her an engagement party.
The real draw was the TLC camera crew. After all, no cameras means no paycheck. His attendance wasn't an act of fatherly redemption. It was good television. The presence of his and Robin's bankable faces required no messy introspection. Just a few scripted smiles for a storyline. It was a business appearance masquerading as family support.
Everybody has to make a choice here about whether I'm supposed to be involved in their life.
The pattern is depressingly familiar. Using affection, or the withdrawal of it, as leverage is the hallmark of a narcissistic parent. To Kody, his children's emotions are manipulative, while his own are sacred and deserving of worship. When his children cry, he rolls his eyes. When he feels wounded, the entire family must bow in sympathy.
He's putting his phone in his pocket.
Oh. Saul?
Even in lighter moments, his immaturity surfaces. Recently, he tattled to Robin that young Solomon had placed Kody's phone in his pocket, prompting her weary maternal sigh, as if mediating squabbling siblings rather than co-parenting adults. It's a dynamic that paints Kody less as patriarch and more as the family's oldest, most petulant child.
I mean, here's the thing is, if we're going in September for the surgery, I don't think I'm going to be going.
His selective attendance at milestones is another tool of control. Showing up, or refusing to, has become his emotional currency. He used the same tactic at Logan's wedding, and surely in countless moments never captured by a camera lens. Each absence is a message, each appearance a performance.
In the plural community, there's certainly a basement wife.
Christine's children, long relegated to basement kid status, have endured years of this hierarchy. Kody's disdain for them seems rooted in his inability to handle Christine's independence.
Yeah, Robin and I are going over to Gwendolyn's bridal shower.
Or now, her happiness with David Woolley. The thought of facing that reality without a financial incentive likely made his stomach turn. Once cameras were confirmed, however, his courage magically returned. The result was an awkward, hollow display of fatherhood that played better on screen than it likely felt in person. But for Gwen and her fiancé Ben, at least the cameras ensured one small mercy. Their father finally showed up. They called it faith. It was really foreplay disguised as doctrine. In Sister Wives Season 17, Robin Brown accidentally exposed more about herself and Kody's moral flexibility than years of teary couch confessionals ever could.
You know, technically, from my understanding, until Christine is physical with another man, she's not divorced.
While lamenting Christine's decision to divorce without church approval, Robin loftily declared, "Technically, from my understanding, until Christine is physical with another man, she's not divorced." The emphasis was bold, almost smug, right up until she caught herself and backpedaled with a flustered, "But I don't know." That nervous retreat was less about modesty and more about realization. She'd just said the quiet part out loud. Her phrasing reveals everything.
That would be according to the religious dogma, but you can't make somebody abide by rules.
Robin wasn't describing doctrine. She was rationalizing behavior. It's not hard to imagine that this very logic was used between her and Kody years earlier to justify their own conveniently spiritual premarital intimacy. After all, he was making weekly 4-hour drives to her hometown long before their marriage.
No, I didn't sleep on the couch, but I didn't sleep well.
And knowing Kody, the man who once claimed he's far too dignified to sleep on couches, one must wonder, where exactly was he sleeping?
Why would I sleep on the couch?
The man doesn't do couches, but we're meant to believe he did chastity? Please. Their insistence on purity has always been more performance than practice. Robin's delicate talk of sacred covenants
was accompanied by an 11-day honeymoon that mysteriously coincided with his neglect of 3 other wives and 13 children. But sure, Christine's decision to move some books to the garage was the real moral outrage. What's remarkable isn't just Robin's hypocrisy, but her audacity. She scolds Christine for not keeping Kody's marital flame alive, even once marching over to ask why Christine wasn't giving him massages anymore. Later, she'd wag a finger about keeping my relationship out of your mouth, apparently forgetting that she'd spent years publicly dissecting everyone else's. And of course, her children were overheard parroting lines about other wives' marriages, proof that the sanctity of adult conversations only matters when cameras are rolling. The irony runs deep. Robin's supposed devotion to church law conveniently shifts to accommodate her own desires. A woman who once insisted on moral purity somehow managed to make premarital intimacy sound like divine necessity, liberation from a prior marriage ordained by celestial authority. It's a narrative worthy of Joseph Smith himself, complete with the belief that her relationship with Kody was a past life, God-approved union, superior to those dull, earthbound marriages he had before.
And when her and I went on our honeymoon, it felt like it changed.
And of course, when Kody later declared that everything changed after the honeymoon because the wives were jealous, he neglected to mention the real reason. Not jealousy, but exhaustion. 11 days of his special connection with Robin while the others managed households and children. Yet somehow, they were the problem.
You have to go through all of these steps to get a release.
The ultimate absurdity lies in their moral calculus. Christine, we're told, wasn't truly divorced until she slept with another man. Kody, meanwhile, can sleep with 4 women under one roof and still be the anointed patriarch. The message is clear. Robin's version of faith grants her indulgence, excuses her actions, and punishes others for doing the same. In the end, Robin and Kody's piety is less religion than self-serving myth-making, a holy union consecrated not by faith, but by ego. And like every sanctimonious performance they've ever staged, it collapses under the weight of its own hypocrisy. She fought for the crown, but now she's the queen of nothing. Here's why Robin Brown's reign ended the moment she won.
I want to be a part of that team.
There was once a time when Robin Brown seemed to bask in the glow of her own fairy tale. The favored wife, the tender victim, the chosen one in Kody's kingdom of confusion. Yet lately, that gleam has dulled. What viewers are witnessing now feels less like love and more like quiet disintegration. The woman who once clung to Kody with performative devotion now seems detached, almost sedated. The kind of emotional numbness that settles in once the heart has already left the room. Their on-screen exchanges reek of rehearsal. Every word, every sigh, every conveniently timed tear lands with the heavy awkwardness of a couple trying to convince themselves they're still in love. It's as though the pair storyboard their conversations in advance, but Kody, ever the improvisational disaster, can't resist veering off script. The result? A chaos of contradictions and misplaced energy that would make even Seinfeld's writers blush, particularly during that infamous licking discussion, which felt less like human dialogue and more like a rejected sketch from bad improv night.
My hands are completely tied because everything I have asset-wise has everybody else's name on it.
At this point, their union appears to be held together by 2 things: spite and financial codependency. Robin, ever the opportunist, is likely weighing her options, taking quiet inventory of assets, calculating exit strategies, and ensuring she'll never be the one left penniless when the final curtain falls. Her pattern suggests she's no stranger to self-preservation, even at the expense of others. She once found security in Kody's chaos. Now she's realizing that chaos doesn't pay dividends forever.
Sleeve for 2-3 years. I really am tired of the pain.
Meanwhile, Kody has made no secret of his own motivations. The man who proudly proclaimed he moves away from pain and toward pleasure has proven allergic to accountability, abandoning wives and children the moment emotional labor entered the picture.
The first time I ever laid eyes on her, I was...
For a couple who supposedly found soulmate monogamy, they now resemble two business partners stuck in a failing franchise, each waiting for the other to blink first.
For the most part, it's just Kody and I and our kids.
Robin's misery, however, is not without irony. Once the self-styled polygamy sweetheart, she reveled in her favored status, mistaking public fascination for admiration. But the moment the audience saw through her act, the manipulation, the martyrdom, the scowls hidden behind soft-spoken words, she recoiled from the spotlight that once fed her. Now she sits in a mansion that feels more like a mausoleum, tethered to a man whose curls have more volume than his sense of self-awareness. Deprived of competition, Robin has also lost her purpose. The thrill of being the chosen one was intoxicating only while there were others to beat. With no sister wives left to outperform, the crown she fought so hard for has turned to lead. What remains is a woman too prideful to leave, too miserable to stay, and too isolated to play the victim convincingly.
Kody, what does trust really mean in terms?
There's no longer any warmth in her interactions with Kody. Not even the transactional affection she once doled out like a hostess managing her favorite customer. He complains about a lack of intimacy. She responds with visible contempt, and the cameras catch it all. Two people locked in mutual resentment, performing love long after love exited the stage. And so, the so-called spiritual marriage has become what it always threatened to be, a hollow alliance between two opportunists, each quietly wondering if the other will walk away first. When the money fades and the cameras stop rolling, there will be no fairy tale ending here. Just two people, stranded in the wreckage of the empire they built on self-delusion.
Generally, what happens is anytime Robin is slighted and
Robin Brown may have won the crown, but without rivals to rule over, she's merely the queen of nothing.
Robin Brown says she had multiple suitors before Kody, but the truth behind those so-called proposals is a lot less romantic than she wants you to believe. Robin Brown's romantic history has always been a foggy mix of mystery, exaggeration, and eyebrow-raising self-importance.
There's a lot of men interested in Robin, and they were sort of trying to get around me and to her.
According to her, one might assume she spent her pre-Kody years fending off marriage proposals like a heroine in a Victorian romance novel. The problem is, the timeline and the credibility don't quite add up.
It's definitely not something I ever would have chosen for myself.
She married young, divorced young, and then allegedly had enough time to accumulate multiple proposals before Kody swept in with his curling iron and celestial ambitions. That's quite the feat for a single mother navigating a conservative religious community, unless, of course, proposal has been redefined to include any man who said, "We should hang out sometime."
Yeah, not much more. I'll bring it out.
Robin's interpretation of male attention seems generous. A man smiling at her in the supermarket, clearly flirting like crazy. A casual acquaintance suggesting coffee, undeniably trying to court her. An actual date, practically on one knee. This pattern was on full display at Gwendolyn's engagement party, where even a harmless exchange with David was treated as proof of her irresistible magnetism.
If we were still into plural marriage.
Well, just if we were going to live it anymore.
More puzzling, though, is the moral math behind these proposals. If she was seriously entertaining multiple suitors to the point of engagement-level conversations, why wasn't she clear about her commitment to plural marriage from the start? It's an oddly selective transparency for someone who preaches the sanctity of honesty and faith.
Being told directly, I have been told.
Her habit of inflating interactions isn't new. This is the same woman who has been caught twisting words, rewriting events, and playing the perpetual victim with Olympic-level precision. One can easily imagine her recounting tales of men who wanted to marry her that, in reality, amounted to an affectionate quip from a dementia patient at the nursing home. "Honey, I'd marry you in a minute."
promptly forgotten 2 minutes later. Of course, if Robin's tally includes elderly admirers and married church members offering harmless compliments, the numbers start to make more sense. There's no shortage of middle-aged men declaring, "I'd marry you if I weren't already taken." But most adults have the good sense not to count those as serious proposals, let alone repeat them on national television. Still, within the cloistered dating pool of the AUB, her popularity isn't entirely implausible. Robin was young, relatively attractive, and, most importantly, not related to half the congregation.
That's great for Kody. I'm glad he's getting a trophy wife.
A novelty that likely contributed to her being dubbed a trophy wife by Christine and Mary. So perhaps the truth lies somewhere between delusion and technicality.
There's a lot of men interested in Robin, and they were sort of...
Robin's many suitors may not have been a parade of men begging for her hand, but rather a collection of well-meaning compliments she's chosen to recast as grand romantic gestures. In the end, it's less a love story than a study in self-mythology. A woman determined to prove that, even in polygamy, she was always the prize. If you're here for truth with a side of sass, you're in the right place. Subscribe.